Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to see you again. It is freezing cold outside today. It's pretty cold indoors too. To stay warm, we're going to tackle a couple of household jobs. And then for dinner tonight, we're going to make a comforting and unusually delicious chili and some skillet cornbread. And we can enjoy our dinner in front of the fire. For the chili, I'm going to need 1 red onion. I suppose you could use a yellow or white onion. And I just need to peel and dice this. This is peeling very easily. And I do like an onion that cooperates when you try to peel it. This is a huge onion, so I'm going to use probably half of the onion for the actual chili, and then we can reserve the other half for garnish. I do save and freeze the onion skins and then use them for stock. I also need a green bell pepper and some garlic, which I have in the freezer. So this is some of the bell pepper that you and I grew together from seed and that we harvested and froze, I think about a month ago. I cut it into strips, but I want to dice it. I need to let this bell pepper thaw for about 5 minutes. Meantime, we can open up a package of the celery, which you and I also grew together from seed and harvested and chopped and blanched and froze. Very convenient to have these things in the freezer. We will also add a couple of these garlic pucks from homegrown garlic. Now, I should mention that this chili is particularly thick and luxurious. I think it's my favorite chili of all. Now we need to brown 1 pound of ground beef. This is 85% lean. So I'm putting my Dutch oven over medium heat. In goes the beef. I will break up the beef as it browns. All right, the beef is nicely browned, and I did drain it. So now I'm going to add just a glug of oil. This is avocado oil. And here is the onion. I'm going to add the equivalent of 1 medium onion. And again, I will save the remainder for garnish. The bell pepper. The frozen celery, because I have it. 2 garlic pucks. Of course, you could use fresh garlic here. You could even use garlic powder. Then we need red kidney beans from a 15.5 ounce can. And I'm using the juices that came with the beans. That's about 440 grams. Then I'm adding some diced tomato. This is from a 14.5 ounce can. That's about 411 grams. And I'm adding all of the juices from the can. For seasonings, I'm adding just a generous pinch of salt. And of course, we need chili powder because we are making chili. 1 tablespoon. 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. And just a wee bit of cayenne pepper. Give this a stir. And here's my special ingredient. 1 or 2 tablespoons of either light or dark brown sugar. You would be amazed at what brown sugar can do for chili. It creates this beautiful balance of savory and sweet. And you will see that there's quite a bit of liquid in this pot. To thicken the liquid, I'm adding a 6-ounce can of plain tomato paste. That's 411 grams. This is a very colorful chili. I will be adding some sliced black olives later on. I also want to add some fresh chopped parsley to this chili, so let's run out to the garden to fetch some. This parsley has been through multiple hard frosts, but as soon as the temperature rises above freezing, the parsley just picks right back up. Although I don't know how many more days we will have when the temperature is above freezing. And in goes the parsley. Now, because I added the frozen celery and a lot more of the frozen bell pepper than I usually do, my chili is not as thick as I would like it to be. No problem. I'm going to add another 6-ounce can of tomato paste.
Go ahead.
Now all we need is a 2.5-ounce can of sliced black olives. You could omit these if you do not care for black olives. At this point, our chili is done. I'm going to cut off the heat, and we can let this cool to room temperature. Then I will pop it into the refrigerator until serving time, at which point I will simply reheat the chili. This is the kind of dinner dish that refrigerates and reheats perfectly. In fact, it tastes even better after it's been refrigerated and reheated. I'm going to clean up my workstation, and then we can tackle a couple of household chores. Afterwards, we can make the skillet cornbread. In the comments under yesterday's video, a viewer asked if I could show how I clean my fireplaces. So that's what we're going to do now. So I have a dustpan and a coal scuttle here. And I do not clean my fireplace after every fire, but I clean it at least once each week. And I do burn a fire here every day during the cold weather months. Now, this is a fairly easy job to do because I do not use a cast iron grate in any of my fireplaces. These are 19th century fireplaces, and almost no one used a fireplace grate during the 19th century. And I can show you how I build a fire a little later in this video, because we certainly want a fire to dine in front of. And then I take a dust broom and I sweep any ash from the fireplace hearth right back into the fireplace. Now, since I only burn wood and newspaper in my fireplaces, I'm able to use the fireplace ash as a soil amendment. Fireplace ash is potash, and it is great for lilac bushes. So we're going to spread these out in the garden now. So over here at the top of this serpentine garden, I have dwarf lilacs. We're going to sprinkle the ashes beneath them. Mission accomplished. Between cocktail parties and afternoon teas and dinner parties, we go through a lot of cloth napkins. So these are all freshly laundered, and I simply need to iron them. A very kind viewer sent me these beautiful sky blue tea napkins, and I am very grateful for them. I never use paper napkins, even when I'm dining by myself. I much prefer to use cloth, cotton or linen. That's just how I roll. These blue and white dinner napkins are among my favorites. Believe it or not, I bought them on Amazon. They were not at all expensive. They are super soft and super durable. And I can link them in the description box below if you are interested. I know that ironing napkins, or ironing in general, may seem like drudgery to a lot of people, but I actually find it very relaxing. As I stand here, I'm thinking happy thoughts. This is almost a Zen-like activity for me. All done. Let's put these napkins away. It feels great to have all of those napkins ironed. And now we can start on the cornbread. I'm going to make a buttermilk skillet cornbread. And the first thing we need is 2 cups or 240 grams of plain cornmeal. This is stone ground cornmeal. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, a generous pinch of salt, that's about 1/4 teaspoon, and just 1 teaspoon of sugar. You could leave the sugar out if you like, but I think it helps the cornbread to brown. And just whisk the dry ingredients together. For the wet ingredients, we need 2 cups or 500 mils of buttermilk. And 1 large egg, which I'm going to beat right in this little food prep bowl. You can throw that into the buttermilk. And 3 tablespoons of melted and cooled butter. Give this a little stir. And then we are going to set both the dry mixture and the wet mixture aside for just a moment because we need to heat an 8 to 10 inch cast iron skillet. And in case I forgot to tell you, my oven has preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. And now I'm going to add some bacon grease to my skillet, but you could absolutely use butter here. I'm placing my skillet over medium heat. Then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of the bacon grease. And you would add 2 tablespoons of butter if you are using butter here. We are going to let this grease melt and let the pan get very hot. And while the bacon fat is melting and the pan is getting ripping hot, we can add the wet ingredients to the dry and then stir with a spatula or a spurtle just until the cornmeal mixture is thoroughly moistened. The mixture has turned quite foamy. That's the acidic buttermilk reacting with the alkaline baking soda. And our pan is nice and hot, so in goes the cornbread mix. Cooking the cornbread this way is going to give the bottom of the bread a very nice crust. I'm going to let the cornbread batter cook on the stovetop, for 1 to 2 minutes. Then we will transfer the cornbread to the preheated oven for 30 to 35 minutes. While the cornbread is baking, I'm going to clean up my workstation here, and then we can go into the parlor and light a fire. So I told you I would show you how I build a fire without using a grate. So I take 2 good-sized pieces of wood and arrange them like this. And then I toss crumpled newspaper between the 2 pieces of wood. Then I place bark or small pieces of kindling on top of the paper, balanced between the 2 larger pieces of wood, and then more large pieces of wood on top. Fire. And this is how standard 18th and 19th century fires were built. This looks just great, and I am really hungry. The chili is behind me, warming on the stovetop. Let me change my clothes, and then we can dive into this very humble but very delicious dinner. chili, some red onion, and some queso. This is cheddar. Buttermilk skillet cornbread. Can't forget the freshly ironed napkin. To the fireplace. A glass of wine, a bowl of my very special chili, some buttermilk cornbread, and a fire. Life is good. This chili is so colorful and it has so many different textures. I just love it. Now the cornbread. Even without butter on top of this cornbread, it is so moist and earthy and corny and delicious. And I should probably mention that since we did not add any wheat flour to this cornbread, it's entirely gluten-free. In the comments below, please let me know what your favorite comfort meal is when the weather turns cold. Chili and cornbread is certainly one of my favorite cold weather meals. Thank you so much for spending time with me today as we cleaned this fireplace and we used the fireplace ashes to fertilize the lilac shrubs. And we ironed what felt like a million dinner and cocktail and tea time napkins. And of course, we made this incredible chili and cornbread. As I've said in previous videos, I feel like I am the luckiest person on earth because I get to spend time with you. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next episode, which will be on Sunday. Cheers, friends.